Masses of water gushing from the gaping hole in the destroyed Nova Kakhovka dam in Russian-controlled territory here in South Ukraine. Massive flooding quickly inundating villages on both shores of the mighty Dnipro River, impacting areas controlled by Ukrainians and by the Russians.
As you can see, there's a massive rescue effort going on here. The local authorities are using boats and also heavy trucks to get as many people out of the zone as they can.
65-year-old Nadezhda Chernyshova was stranded in her home with her cat Sonia for hours, fearing for her life. Now I'm not scared, she says, but there it was scary. Why, I ask? Because of the water. The water came and you don't know from where it comes and where it will go. The authorities here say they've evacuated hundreds of people throughout the day, at times under Russian fire, the head of Jerson's military administration tells me. We have the water, he says. Mines are floating to here, and this district is constantly being shelled. 2 policemen were injured while evacuating people. Kiev blames Moscow for allegedly blowing up the dam, an angry Ukrainian president saying the Russians are trying to derail Ukraine's current battlefield gains. It was mined by the Russian occupiers, he says, and they blew it up. This once again demonstrates the cynicism with which Russia treats the people whose land it has captured. The destruction of the dam comes as Ukrainian forces have been making gains on the battlefield, what some believe may be the early stages of Kiev's long-awaited counter-offensive, even though the Ukrainians haven't confirmed that. Russia's army denies blowing up the dam, instead blaming the Ukrainians. Aiming to prevent the offensive operations by the Russian army on this section of the front line, the Kiev regime committed an act of sabotage, or rather terrorist act, the defense minister said. While the floodwaters are affecting ever more areas around Jersón, upstream the levels are critically low, around the Zaporizhzhia power plant, the biggest in all of Europe, which relies on a pond connected to the river for cooling. The International Atomic Energy Agency says so far there's no danger, but that could change.
It is therefore vital that this cooling pond remains intact. Nothing must be done to potentially undermine its integrity.
And there's really 2 things that stand out when you're on the ground here. One is how fast the floodwater is rising, and the other one is how much shelling is actually still going on while the folks here are trying to save people out of the flood zone. And all this comes as a local official says that more than 1,000 houses seem to be underwater in the Ukrainian-held parts alone. Frederik Pleitgen, CNN, Jersón, Ukraine.